Keeping It Real. I'm Krista Gibson, your host, and I'm also the publisher of New Spirit Journal. I'd like to introduce you to my guest today. I suspect you've heard of him. His name is Dr. Norman Shealy, and there's so much I could say about him. It could take my whole time just telling you everything about him. But I'm going to tell you a little bit because he is the founder. I've got my notes here because there's no way I could remember it all. But he's the founder and CEO of the International Institute of Holistic Medicine. He's the president of Shealy Wellness, editor of the Journal of Comprehensive Alternative Medicine. I could just go on and on. He's published 34 books, written over 300 articles, and he's made numerous innovations. His clinical work includes holistic management of pain, depression, anxiety. Now, his latest two books that we're probably going to mention today is The Blueprint for Holistic Healing and Living Bliss. And Dr. Shealy's going to be the speaker at the Edgar Cayce Spring Retreat in Seebeck, Washington at the end of March. He's going to be talking about healthy longevity. Welcome, Dr. Shealy.
Hey, great to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's talk about healthy longevity. You've been a doctor for so many years. I know you have tremendous information to draw upon.
I waited longer than anybody else I know. I graduated from medical school 61 years ago.
Wow.
But I'm still active, and honestly, I still feel 26. I do 90 minutes of physical activity every morning.
Wow.
And I sleep 8 hours every night. And my telomeres, this is the key to longevity, my telomeres, the tips of your DNA, are 35 years younger than I am.
Wow.
Telomeres, if you have good health habits, shrink 1% every year of life. Huh. That's just the way we're programmed at this point in time. That's what I got interested in about 12 years ago. You know, this doesn't seem right.
Right, it doesn't.
And then I discovered that there are three things that accumulate, if you will, with age. One of those is free radicals. Free radicals are byproduct metabolism, and they cause all kinds of problems. The average person is running around with 3 to 5 plus free radicals 24 hours a day. So they're constantly being irritated, if you will, chemically.
Okay.
The most common cause of death in the people over 80 is a fractured hip. Well, that's from calcitonin. Calcitonin is the hormone essential for that. Right. And then third, the average person peaks in the making of the most important hormone that we know, DHEA, at age 25.
Oh, dear.
And it goes down consistently so that by age 80, the average person has a DHEA that's 10% of what they had at age 30.
Right. Wow.
Every known disease is associated with low DHEA. So my first experiment in the longevity project was to find a way of raising DHEA healthily, safely, because taking it is not advisable, in my opinion.
Okay.
It can aggravate a dormant cancer of the breast, the ovary, or the prostate.
Okay.
If you take it. But if you make your own, it'll prevent it.
Wow. So
I found 4 techniques that are totally safe that will restore DHEA. And so now here I am at 84, and I've got a healthy young DHEA level.
So what do we do? How do we restore it?
Well, one of the ways is something called Fire Bliss. Fire Bliss is a little bottle about that big with a roller thing inside. And you put it onto 12 specific acupuncture points.
Okay.
It takes 30 seconds. That helps raise DHEA.
Really?
Now, if that doesn't work alone, there are 3 other things. Magnesium lotion. Okay. Most people are deficient in magnesium. Natural progesterone cream. Both men and women can benefit more from progesterone cream than any other supplement.
Wow.
And then, of course, I put together another formula. It's a combination of vitamin C and methyl sulfonamethyl, an organic sulfur. That will raise your DHEA 60%. So that's the big one. for calcitonin, we found a different circuit in the body, which I call the ring of Earth. So Earth Bliss, another 30 seconds, will raise calcitonin. For free radicals, we can reduce them 80% by using another little roll-on bottle. So a minute and a half a day.
Wow.
So those three essential oils which we put on the Pacific Acupuncture Points. Mm-hmm. And that is what I converted to, because I started with electricity. Mm-hmm. And electricity works too if you put it on the right spots.
Right.
But electricity takes 20 minutes to do a ring, and the Bliss oil takes 30 seconds.
Well, and I think if I have a choice between oil or electricity, I'll go with oil. sounds a little safer to me.
And by the way, they smell good.
Oh, good.
And so I was using electricity for the first 5 years, mm-hmm. because I hadn't finished the oils until 6 years ago.
Right.
But then when I found the oils work, I switched. So I had 34 people who used electricity, and then 14 additional ones who've used only the oils. And we average regrowing the telomeres 3.5% every year instead of shrinking 1%.
Wow.
So it's actually 4.5 years, if you will, better than not doing it. And so we're continuing with that, and that's the simplest thing. Now, obviously, if you're going to be sloppy with your health habits, I wouldn't worry about living longer. If you're going to smoke, if you're going to be 100 pounds overweight,
right.
Forget about it. Uh-huh. But for a healthy person with good health habits, it looks as if the single best thing they could do is fire, earth, and crystal bliss. It's so simple. Right. Now, for your information, if you really want to get on a twig with me, as you can see, I'm an inveterate researcher.
Yes, you are. Amazing.
This week, we're finishing my most exciting emotionally product research I've ever done. There is a hormone not well known called adrenomedullin. Sounds as if it's something from the adrenal gland, but it's not. It's actually made in blood vessels. And that goes up, 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 and much more important than cholesterol as you age. Uh-huh. A study was done published last fall that showed that there's a small city in Italy where the average person lives into the mid or late 90s, and they're healthy all the way. Uh-huh. And their adrenomedullin is the same as an average healthy 20-year-old.
Oh, my. Wow.
Well, they don't know why. It's just whether it's genetic or no, they couldn't figure it out. So we are experimenting with 40 people who we measured a baseline adrenomedullin. And actually this week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we're finishing the study and drawing the bloods again. So in 2 weeks, by the time I get out there, we'll know
right.
about this. And they've sat in a room filled with something called scalar energy. SCALAR.
Right.
Scalar energy is many times the speed of light. Totally safe. It is probably somehow associated with all kinds of healing, including great spiritual healers. I have demonstrated in 200 cases that a spiritual healer can change your EEG here in Springfield when they're 1,000 miles away, within seconds.
That's amazing? Amazing.
So if adrenomedullin goes down from sitting in a scalar room, woo!
Yeah.
What excitement!
Exactly.
So it's to me it's fun. It's more like play than it is work.
Right.
But that's the kind of thing I play with.
That is awesome. And so I wanted to ask you a question. Let's say somebody's watching this who already has some kind of chronic health condition. What kind of advice can you give them? I mean, they're not starting at a healthy place.
Exactly. Well, here's the problem. In my opinion, conservatively, 90% of illnesses are the result of unhealthy habits.
Right.
There are 4 essential healthy habits.
Okay.
No smoking.
Right.
Normal body weight. 5 or more servings of fruits and vegetables every day. And exercise 30 minutes 5 days a week. Now, the exercise doesn't have to be vigorous, just, movement.
Move. Yeah.
You stand in place and just play.
Right.
But only 2.7% of Americans have those habits.
That's right.
If everybody just adopted those 4 habits, within 25 years, life expectancy in this country would go from 78 average now to 100, just from changing those habits. So the first thing is to change those habits. And they're easy. I mean, to me, they're easy. They're common sense.
Right.
But it's an uncommon commodity.
Well, I think it's a process too. When you have a bad habit, whatever it is, smoking or whatever, it's a process, and you have to do it bit by bit, and it takes effort to do.
And things do happen. Now, just this morning, I saw a man who I think may have diabetes, even though he's thin as a rail. And, 90% or more of the people who develop diabetes are significantly overweight.
Right.
But I have seen 4, a couple of men and a couple of women, who have, and that's a totally different thing. That is either genetic and or a deficiency in chromium or vanadium or something like that. So as soon as I find out whether his neuropathy, I picked it up because his feet are numb.
Oh my, right, which goes with diabetes.
It goes very commonly with diabetes,
Right.
and his doctor hasn't paid any attention to it.
Right.
And so there are these other things. There are genes that can influence it. But the nice thing about genes is, over the last 20 years, we know they're malleable. If you have good health habits, most of the genes that carry problems don't manifest themselves.
That's interesting, right.
And changing your habits, it may take a couple of years sometimes.
Right.
It's worth it
Right.
to feel good.
Yeah, it took me, I quit smoking probably 25 years ago. It's been a long time, but it took me 7 years to quit. I quit many times. It isn't, and I think people need to be encouraged that way, no matter what our habits are. Don't get discouraged if they don't change right away. It's an effort. Yeah.
And after 10 years, by the way, the damage is gone.
Right.
On average, if you survive 10 years, your life expectancy is the same as someone who never smoked.
Right. I've heard that. Yeah. And it feels so good to not smoke. I can't imagine ever, I was addicted. It's an addictive substance, and
of course it is.
Many things are, and when I see young people smoking, I just want to go grab it and say, "You have no idea what you're doing. How hard it's going to be to quit someday." Yeah.
Nothing like a reformed.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't say anything to anybody. So at the conference here that's coming up, that you're coming to CBEC, you'll be talking to people about all of this in greater detail, about longevity and what is it, Living Bliss? I love the name of your book, Living Bliss.
Living Bliss. Now, that goes back 6 years ago, this April. I suddenly realized that I had to find a way of allowing people to do some of these things that didn't take time.
Right. Because
to do what I was talking about, in addition to exercise and everything, it took an hour a day with electricity.
Right.
And nobody's going to spend, even I didn't like spending an hour a day at it.
Right.
And so I had these 5 circuits that I've mentioned 3 of them so far that I was working with. And so one day I said, we just got to find a way, and I bet I can do it with oil. And I did. And then I found an oil for each of the 5 circuits. They're different. They're different points. There's 60 different points in the 5 circuits. Wow. And there are 5 different mixtures of essential oils. So after I found the first oil, very quickly then I figured out different combinations for each of the other circuits. So I've mentioned 3 of the rings. The other 2, which I haven't mentioned yet, are air. Now, air has many benefits. In fact, I just called it Bliss first because air bliss, or the ring of air, makes you happy. It raises oxytocin. Now, as you undoubtedly know, statistically speaking, our communicating in this friendly way in itself for a normal person will help raise oxytocin.
Mm-hmm.
But people with depression, people with anxiety, every known psychological, emotional disease is associated with low oxytocin.
Mm.
And the drugs suck. And I'm being kind because
right. They do, yes.
And so Air Bliss significantly raises oxytocin within 30 minutes.
Wow.
And it is 80% effective in treating depression and anxiety.
Wow.
And so it has become my method of choice for treating people with depression. It's quick,
right.
It's easy, it's inexpensive, and it's safe.
Right.
The fifth ring is the ring of water. Now there we're dealing with a hormone called aldosterone. And aldosterone can be high or low, and water restores it either way. Low aldosterone is often associated with swelling, edema, congestion. High aldosterone is often associated with high blood pressure. So the ring of water can be useful for something like that.
Right.
But interestingly, we did compare the three rings or the three circuits I've already mentioned for longevity with the five, and the five does not increase the telomeres any more than the three. So it may have other benefits for people with depression or congestion, but no point in doing it unless you need it for those also.
Right, right. So these oils, because I went to your website and I did see the oils there, and I wasn't sure what they were. Now I understand better. So are you saying somebody can go and basically self-prescribe, which of these they would most need and start using them?
They can read about it and decide if they want to try it. It's that safe. I would be comfortable using the oil on a 2-year-old.
Okay.
I wouldn't go on a baby,
right.
1-year-old or less because of the skin sensitivity.
Right, right.
But after that, I think it's safe.
Wow.
And it's one way of going. And again, I personally believe that among the worst drugs in the world are antidepressant drugs.
Yes.
They don't really make you happy. They sometimes bring you out of the depths of depression, but blah.
Right, right. And some people commit suicide on them.
A lot of them.
I had a friend who did, yeah.
At all ages.
Right.
It's well known about teenagers, but it doesn't matter how old you are, people on antidepressant drugs have an increased risk of suicide.
Exactly, which is crazy.
Of course,
to take something that's supposed to get you out of depression and it makes you want to kill yourself. That's nuts.
Well, and if you're a male, it also has another negative effect, which you can imagine what that is.
Right, right, yes. Subdues the libido.
Yes, bad. And by the way, that takes us to antihypertensive drugs. They're not much better than antidepressant drugs. The combination of 3 antidepressant drugs works in 45% of people. That means that 55% of people don't get the benefit, and virtually 100% of them have no energy. It saps energy and again libido. I can control hypertension 99.8% of the time, totally safely, without drugs. That's another.
So I was curious, and I know we don't have a lot more time, but I'm curious. This whole thing that's going on right now regarding the healthcare and
yes.
Gosh, you must have so much to say about that in terms of the pharmaceuticals and just the waste that's going on.
I don't call them the pharmacomafia for nothing.
Pharmacomafia, I like that.
They run American medicine, including medical schools today.
Wow.
Unfortunately, the majority of research at medical schools is funded by the pharmacomafia. Medical students are brainwashed from day one. 4 years of medical school, 3 or more years for residency afterwards, they all come out brainwashed by the pharmacomafia. Now, in acute illnesses, fresh drugs sometimes are lifesavers.
Right, right,
Almost never are they lifesavers in chronic illness.
right.
In other words, if the illness is not cured within 4 to 6 weeks, the drugs are not likely to make you better and may make you worse.
Right, right. And yet,
And so for the last 46 years, I have specialized in safe alternatives. Now, mostly for chronic problems. I mean, occasionally, I don't see many people with acute illnesses because of the nature of my practice. And occasionally I have somebody come in and say, now look, you go to the emergency ward.
right, right, yeah,
And I think that's the best of modern medicine is the emergency ward.
right, yes. Yeah, amazing, just amazing. Well, our time is up. I so appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule, and I really encourage people to go see you when you're at CBEC at the end of March and listen to you live. I think it's going to be a wonderful presentation.
I'm looking forward to it. The ARE is a fantastic. In fact, in 1972, when I had my first introduction to the Edgar Cayce work, I became a convert.
Yes.
I think the ARE is one of the greatest organizations in the world.
They are. They're amazing people, and his work is amazing.
Exactly.
That's great. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it, Dr.
My
Shealy.
pleasure. Blessings.
Blessings to you. Take care. Bye-bye. Well, that was certainly an interesting interview, and I encourage you to go to newspiritjournal.com and click on the article that's there, and you can read more about the presentation that Dr. Shealy will be doing at the Association for Research and Enlightenment Spring CBEC Washington Retreat. And there's links there where you can go, find out more about it. And you can also check out his website, which I had failed to mention, which is Norm Shealy, NormShealy.com. And he gave a lot of good information. And I just wanted to add a little something that doesn't directly relate to what we were talking about with Dr. Shealy, but just a little tip for today is that, instead of being so sure about everything in your life, sometimes don't you think we all get kind of attached to our beliefs and our opinions, and we want to be right about everything? And I think that's one of the things that's going on in the world right now that's making life difficult for a lot of people. The Republicans have their viewpoint, the Democrats have theirs, the independents have theirs, and everybody's out there, ready to fight, ready to get out there and fight for what they believe in. And we're all partially right and we're all partially not right. Hate the word wrong. And so maybe, what if you took more of a position of maybe I'm right, maybe I'm not right, maybe they're right, maybe I'm not right. And just get to that place of wondering, I wonder how this is all going to work out, because it will work out one way or another. It always does. We may not like the way it works out, but it always does, doesn't it? So just give yourself that gift of, number one, not needing to be right. Number two, listen to other people's opinions and really be interested in them. And number three, just ask yourself, I wonder. Thanks for joining me today. I'll see you next time